Hey, welcome back to another video, folks. Thanks for tuning in again. As always, massively appreciative of you clicking on that link, and hopefully in the end of the video, or even now, clicking the like button and smashing that subscribe button, all massively beneficial to me, so thank you very much. Today's video, 5-Minute Friday. I say this every time, but I actually think I'm in with a fighting chance this week of actually doing it. We'll see how we get on though. The title of the video, you will have already seen it, is something along the lines of how to choose rock shoes. I've got a few in front of me, as you can see. Now obviously I don't work in a climbing shop or anything like that, so I don't have access to loads of different brands and things, because I use 510 rock shoes for the most part. They fit me, so I don't have Sportiva shoes and Scarpa shoes and one of the many other brands or anything like that really. So I'm just going to talk about them in a generic sense anyway, so I'm not saying buy this model, don't buy that model, nothing like that, but just generally the different types of rock shoes and things we should consider when we're out buying a new pair. I'm in the training room today. I just wanted to show you the view while we're here because it's great, and I know that's pretty boring to some people, but we'll have a look anyway. There we go. It's not a bad day out there today. It's you can see, I don't know how well I'll be able to point like this, Lion Rock down there, back end of the Gliders there, over right in the distance there, that's the Carneddau. You kind of lose the perspective a little bit on the camera, but yeah, you can, oh actually there, where is it, Slate Quarries there as well, all that climbing, I love it. Loads of planes, like RAF planes flying around this morning, so might be a bit noisy, I might have to shut the window in a minute, but nice to enjoy the view for a moment. Right, so rock shoes, choosing your rock shoes. We'll try and keep it short and sharp. You know I struggle with that kind of thing. Let's talk about a couple of generic things first. Fit, they've got to fit. Doesn't matter what brand you get in, what model you're getting, they've got to fit. What does that mean? It means they're snug, but without dead space. The heel's not falling off. There's not gap between your toe and the end of the rock shoe. Rock shoes are always going to feel a bit weird when you're trying your first pair. Your feet just get used to them after a while. But fit is key. It's absolutely vital. Yeah, you can buy them online, of course you can, but if you do, you've got to accept that you might well be sending them back. It's a really good idea to go to a really good shop, like someone like V12 and Clanberis. There's loads of other good ones as well. And try loads on. The staff in shops like that are just so knowledgeable about brand to brand to brand and different models and how they'll fit you and stuff. Yeah, they have far more knowledge than me about it. I know the generic stuff, and I know that 510 rock shoes work for me. They fit me really well, so I stick with them. But if you're in any doubt, just go and try loads on, right? And when you're trying them on, when you're buying that second pair, maybe in the future, it's still worth trying them on as well, because the trouble with rock shoes is that they always seem to be different. So you can buy a classic pair of 510 Anasazi Velcros there, and you get them in whatever 10.5 years, and then you buy a pair and actually they don't fit and you need an 11 in that one, and the manufacturing changes and all that, but they just seem to vary from rock shoe to rock shoe a bit. That said though, we don't want to fit them too tight. If you're an experienced rock climber, you might wear your rock shoes really tight because you're used to them and you know what you like, but as someone sort of setting out buying your early sort of rock climbing shoes, if you fit them too tight, it's going to affect how you stand on holds. If you put your foot on something, you'll get some pain as a bit of feedback, and you'll use it differently. You won't use it how we want to be using it, so don't fit them too tight. It's really easy to get sucked into, oh, tight will make me climb harder. It can actually have the opposite effect sometimes, and fitting really tight rock shoes, it's bad for your feet. It's just not good, especially for the youngsters amongst you as you're still growing. If they're crammed in, it will really affect how your bones grow and everything, and affect tendons and all sorts. So just be a bit careful with that one, okay? It's worth when you're trying these rock shoes on to go a bit later in the day, because apparently your feet swell up a bit throughout the day when you're walking around. Because if that's what you want, isn't it? Your feet are going to get hot when you're climbing as well, so they will swell up a bit. So you can have like the perfect fitting pair of rock shoes, and then you get to the crag and they just feel too tight because you've walked in and got a bit warm. So do bear that in mind. Most of us probably don't wear socks in our rock shoes, even really thin ones. We'll tell you it's because we get more feel from the rock shoe if we haven't got a sock in between our feet and the rock shoe. Does that make a difference? I'm not sure. Mentally it does, and that's enough for me not to do it. Advantages though, a bit warmer if you're climbing in not so good weather, but also it'll stop your rock shoes smelling quite so bad. Our feet spend a lot of hours in these things, don't they? And if they don't dry out and you leave them in your rucksack and stuff, oof, pretty stinking. I'm sat here a bit worried about the smell, but actually they're all right. We're doing okay. Smell-o-vision would be bad in this case though. And do remember as well, nearly all rock shoes will stretch a bit through use, so you've got to think about that a little bit. Different rock shoes stretch differently. Leather pairs tend to stretch more than synthetic pairs, but as a real rough idea, I'd bank on your rock shoes stretching by half a size. Some will stretch more, some will stretch less. That's where it comes into its own going into that shop like V12, because they'll tell you what stretch loads and what don't. Right. Most of mine here are Velcro. Not this pair, that's just to prove I can tie my shoelaces. Slight differences. Velcro, they're quick and easy to put on and off, and multi-pitching, quite like Velcro because sometimes you want to take them off in a B-lane and hang them off your sling setup or whatever, just to give your feet a bit of a breather. But you do lose a bit of adjustment with the laces. You can get more adjustment right along the length of the shoe, so you might be able to tweak the fit a little bit. So if Velcros fit you, great. If they don't, you don't have as much adjustment as you might on a lace-up pair. Okay, make sure that you've got a bit of leeway when you're cranking them right up. If you have to crank them right up to start with, when they stretch, you won't have anything left to tighten up, if that makes sense. So do make sure there's a little bit at least for taking into account that stretch. Okay. So moving on to sort of the more specifics of individual rock shoes, there's a few different types here. This is we might call it a beginner rock shoe, but actually it's far from it really, because people have been doing hard ascents in this kind of rock shoe for years and years and years. But why do we maybe refer to it as a beginner's rock shoe? Well, it's just the fact that it's flat, right? Because these are a bit older, they've actually sort of been pushed up over years of use as well. But they're flat, they're stiff, they're comfy. If you fit them comfy, you can fit them really tight, and you can do this for all different rock shoes. Get different sizes, and they might suit you for slightly different uses. But generally, comfy, flat, and not very what we would call aggressive. So there's a bit of pull on the heel, but not too much on these ones. I don't have anything more sort of beginner friendly than these ones, but that's kind of where they're at. If you move forwards to something like this, these are still flat, right? A bit more aggression in the heel. It pulls your heel into the shoe, which kind of pushes your toes up to the end more. So 510 described this as I think like a flat but aggressive shoe. It's laced on this one, so remember I can tighten up a bit more. These ones are pretty stiff, right? And over the years of use, they will loosen up a bit and become sort of less edgy and more smeary. The 510 whites, these ones, they've got something in the sole that keeps them stiffer for longer. So for me, that's a general work shoe, and I'll use that up to a lot of climbing onto around HVS-ish, E1-ish, something like that. These, I particularly use them for slate climbing when they're new, because the edge is great, and so they really go onto those little slate edges, and they feel like they give you loads of support and they stay on those edges, so I really like these. Something old like this and rounded on small edges, it's inclined to roll off a little bit, so these are brilliant for those slate edges. As they get a bit older, they'll loosen up a little bit and they'll get rounded off a bit more, and then maybe I'll use them for sort of the trad stuff at that kind of E1-ish, up a little bit, well, E1 upwards basically. Flat shoes like this are great on stuff like up to vertical. Now there's, these are just generic kind of rules, because like someone like Steve McClure uses these right through to 9B, I think he's climbed in, hasn't he? But that he's a special case, I would suggest, right? So flat but aggressive and stiff. And I fit these ones tighter than I fit these ones, because I want these comfy all day work shoe kind of thing. Maybe buy them half a size bigger than I could, whereas these ones I sized them really tight, so they're kind of a struggle to get on, but when they're on they feel pretty good actually, feel quite comfortable for me. Now when we go forward into like this side of the selection, we're looking at more aggressive downturn shoes. So I'm going to get out a new pair here just to sort of highlight the point. I haven't worn these ones yet. this is the same model as these ones but new, and you can really see the downturn on them. The idea of that is on the steeper terrain you're almost like pulling onto the holds, and I'll fit them a bit differently. I'll fit them really quite tight. So if you think when you're pulling on a handhold, open grip like that, you can put some power through it obviously and it's all good, but if you really want to crank on it, then you move into that crimped position like that. And it's the same with your toes, right? So in that comfy pair, I want my toes nice and flat and relaxed, all is good. Going to these ones, they are bunched up a bit more. In these ones, because of that downturn, they're almost like in a crimping position, so you can put more power through them. That's the idea of them, right? Now these 510 high angles, I love these, and if we're getting onto steeper terrain or anything, then I'll wear them, but they fit me so well that even though I fit them really tight, I can wear them like on an all-day route. So I remember doing a route like something like Gogarth and E1 at, funnily enough, Gogarth. I think I did that with Mike last year. Yeah, great route, mega route. I think I wore these on them because I can wear them all the time. If you're trying to smear up a slab though, it's really hard, because to get maximum contact in there, you end up having to drop your heel like loads to make it work, whereas something like this you don't have to drop as much because your toes will just bend up nicely. So they're not going to be so good for smearing up slabs. That's why you want something nice and flat, even if you're not a beginner. But they come into their own on the steep stuff, right? These high angles, I like them because the rubber's really good. 510 make good rubber, it's nice and sticky, but they're actually quite stiff in the front as well, so you get that support. I've got like size 12 feet, so most of these rock shoes are between 10 and a half and 11, because I size down, because I'm kind of used to it. I find them still really comfortable. I think one of them might be 11 and a half, maybe that one's 11 and a half. The sizing just varies shoe to shoe to shoe, let alone model to model to model. So again, try them on if you can. But yeah, we're having the big feet, it feels like having stiff shoes gives me more support to stay on those small holds, right? So that's a brand new pair of high angles, unworn at the moment. My older pairs, like these ones, they're still pretty stiff, right? You can see I'm sort of putting some force and they bend a bit. They've lost some of their downturn, they're worn through, these ones, because they're just for the board now. These are the sort of the middle ground, where they've still got a downturn on them, still quite stiff, but they're nice and sticky now. Okay, so I've worn these things on all sorts, and I tend to wear this kind of shoe from 7A upwards. So this is, I think both those pairs have seen 8A. This is exactly the same as those, but they're made of synthetic stuff, so they just stretch a bit less. They fit very slightly differently, and that's why I have actually climbed 8A, 1/8A in them, but they don't usually work so well for me now. They've stretched out a bit, whereas these ones stay better for longer. So quite similar, aggressive, stiff, but still really flipping comfy. Honestly, I find them so comfy, it's ridiculous. I never thought I'd find an aggressive pair so comfy. The other pair I use, 510 Teams, got that downturn on them again. These ones though, properly bendy, and that means they're going to be sticky. Sticky is a sticky thing, so I use these purely for bouldering. They're sized really tight. I don't really need the support in the same way on bouldering, and they come off after a few moves anyway. So somewhere like Paracella's Cave or something, where it's like polished limestone, slippery it is, any extra friction that I can get, I'm going to take it. So I wear these 510 Teams on stuff like that. I really like them. I have actually got a couple more pairs of rock shoes floating around the place, but they're all the same model as those, and there's some new ones downstairs, because you'll find like 510 Whites, they discontinued them, then they brought them back, and everyone's like, oh well, they're going to discontinue them again at some point. So I bought another couple of pairs, so they're in the store downstairs, because they have discontinued them. I think the high angles have changed, which is why I bought those all of a sudden, because I don't know what the new ones will be like. I don't think they make those ones either anymore. It's a funny old world, isn't it? Unparalleled was another brand I've got. I have got a couple of pairs of these ones. If anyone is a size 10 and a half in these ones, then make me an offer, because I'll happily sell these. I just can't get my feet onto these. They're almost the same as high angles. Old 510 employees formed this new company called Unparalleled, so they're virtually the same. And when these bag out, I always feel like I could get away with half a size smaller. So I bought these half a size smaller without trying them on. I broke the golden rule of not trying them on, just bought them online. Ah, crikey, I just can't get them on. If I put like a Tesco bag on my foot, I can just about squeeze them on, but it's a battle even then. So if they stretched a bit, they'd be perfect, but I can't use them to stretch them in the first place, so I'm a bit stuck with them. So they've not actually seen a route, they've only just about made it on downstairs. So yeah, 10.5 unparalleled Regulus. Chuck a comment in the section below if you want to buy them off me. I'll do you a good price. So what have we said? Fit is key, trying them on is key, point in case there. Flat ones tend to be sort of more comfortable in the long run. Downturn can be comfortable if you find the ones that work really well for you. Velcro versus laces. There's so many different pairs of rock shoes out there. You know, like I say, go into a shop and try loads on. Don't be sucked into buying a pair just because your hero wears them, whether that's Shauna Coxey or Dave McLeod or whomever it might be. Their shoes just might not fit you. These might not fit you. They have to fit you for them to work really well. Some people will say at kind of lower grades that good rock shoes don't make a difference. Yeah, I've never really bought into that. I think like we all want as much advantage from our rock shoes as humanly possible. Why make it any harder for yourself, right? Look at some of the routes that we'll be climbing with rock shoes, say VS for example, and we look back at when they were first climbed, even much harder than that, and you look back and go, oh crikey, I don't even know how they climbed it in the shoes they were wearing, but I just don't care really. It's impressive, absolutely it's impressive, but I don't need to wear rubbish rock shoes, so I won't, right? You don't need to have as many as this. As you know, climbing is my obsession, and they've all got their uses. Slate, work, indoor, harder sport climbing, bouldering, you know, you get the idea. Can you buy one pair that does it all? You can probably get pretty close. If I wanted a one pair that did it all, might be inclined to go for them and fit them in a comfortable way. They're stiff, but they fit really well. The rubber softens up nicely over time. Not bad. Oh, those are really good as well. Just the heel's a bit funny on these ones. I'm not sure I could cope with that as a one pair fits all anymore, but maybe. Would it be them? Probably not them, because they're just not good enough on the slabby stuff that I like. Oh, who knows? Anyway, I can't talk for any longer. The smell, as I've said it, the smell isn't too bad. When I lean forwards, it's flipping bad enough. I'm just properly glad you haven't got smell-o-vision over on the other side of that camera. But yeah, do fire away with any questions as usual. You know I'm happy to answer as best I can, as always. If you're going to ask me, do Sportiva this or that fit this kind of foot, I just don't know, I'm afraid. Go into that shop, ask them, they'll be happy to help and give you that information. Obviously, once we can go into shops post-lockdown, all right. But yeah, fire away those questions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. More videos coming up very soon.